Welcome back to Ag Geek Speak. We are really excited about this episode. We have a very special guest and a longtime ADMS software user, Matthew Kruger. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And we are going to talk about something that is extremely fun. Matt has done something really cool. He has made a gargantuan corn maze. And honestly, we helped him a little bit with drawing the corn maze, but at the same time, he did a lot on his own. And that is going to be the topic of our conversation today. But first, just to get things even started, because this is going to be open to the public this fall. Is that correct? So you
Yep.
can go through this.
Yeah. We open August 23rd, and then we're open all the way through October 19th. And we're just do Saturdays and Sundays. There's one weekend somewhere in October. We're open Thursday and Friday as well for NEA. We are super excited. So
Is there any place where people can go and find out information on is it Valley Corn Maze?
yep. Yeah, so we have website, Facebook, Instagram, even the good old TikTok-y thing, So all of those to search
That-
Valley Corn Maze, and Maze is spelled Maize. But if you do search Valley Corn Maze and spell it Maze, I bought the domain for that too, and so it'll route you to the right spot. So
That's good. We'll get that information from you for all of the social media for this, that people can actually go and find this, because people can go through this. This is like
yes,
a
absolutely.
great fall time activity. But let's back up. How big is this maze? This thing is huge.
Yeah, so the maze this year. So normally this is our 10th year at Valley Corn Maze. So normally it's been the last couple of years 15 acres, and I had this desire a few years ago. We own the whole field. We should just make the whole thing into corn maze one day. And so, but Sarah, I feel like Sarah, we have to give you credit for last year because you worked your A double butt off on trying to make it happen last year so hard. And we both, between you and I, we were up trying to make this work happen, work at John Deere, and eventually got to the point I have to plant the corn. June is here and I have to plant it. So we pulled the plug on it last year. And then this year it went so much easier after we learned some tips and tricks from our infamous Kelly Sharp. So but yeah, so it's 121 acres. It's got 5 different levels in it. The shortest one is 1,700 feet long, so that'd be 0.32 miles. And then the longest maze, or the longest level, is 2.4 miles. So, and that's if you're going on the route of the shortest way. You can get lost, and it might take you longer than that. So anyway, and if you go on all the pathways on the right trail to get in and out without being stopped or everything, it's over 7 miles of pathways that you walk. But the corn maze as a whole has a total of 20 miles of pathways out there. Over 20 miles.
So it's a good workout.
It is. It's great.
Okay. That's amazing.
It is amazing.
As a lover of puns, I appreciate that so much.
So, okay, this is a precision agriculture podcast. So let's talk for a second about the mechanics, just a little bit. You don't have to share all of your tips and tricks and your proprietary stuff that makes Valley Corn Maze tick. But I mean, this was a big deal. You came up with a design. And when I look at this, there's a smaller, more detailed maze. How big is that maze?
Yeah, so that one's a 15 acres. So that's our that one always have a different theme. So this year it's superheroes. So we got different superhero type things out there. And yeah, so that's kind of super detailed. There's a lot more, the pathways are closer together, a little more twists and turns, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's 15 acres. We should go, like I said, talk about the technology side of things. So that one, when we got this file to work within John Deere, I believe it's the first corn maze John Deere's ever really planted fully with its software, for sure, at least at this size. And I know they had doubts too of we think it can do this, but we're not sure. And shout out to Maddie, I believe was her name, at John Deere Operations Center for fixing we kind of go through 2 different third-party softwares to get this thing to work, basically. But we got it to work. And yeah, so that maze, we also crisscross plant, just because then you don't have the rows to potentially cheat on. And it makes it a lot more thick, basically. we're on 22-inch row spacing up here as well. Like I said, I'm from like Valley Corn Maize is located in East Grand Forks. I farm East Grand Forks with my dad and brother, and so we are in 22-inch country for row spacing. I would love being 30s to be totally honest. And we don't even have sugar beets, but the equipment's worth more at 22-inch than 30-inch. So we're on 22s. So
There's a bunch on 22-inch rows, and it is totally like, a Red River Valley sugar beet spacing, and because that's just the culture of the sugar beet industry, a lot of other people end up staying in that row spacing for that reason up in this
yeah,
neck of the woods.
That's such an interesting economic story. It's like, it should be its own story about, like, resale value of 22-inch equipment versus 30-inch equipment in the valley. That's cool.
yeah. Which I mean, I actually like. I look at people that buy like 24-row 30-inch planters, and like outside the valley, you can. Well, I guess you can buy those in the valley cheap. But I mean, 30-inch equipment in general is just cheaper. Like a 30-inch 12-row chopping header is cheaper than a 22-inch 12-row chopping corn header. So it doesn't make sense because the 30-inch has more metal on it. But yeah,
And question, so you say you crisscross plant. So I assume, like, do you diamond plant? How does your crisscrossing
yeah,
work?
yep. So like I planted the whole like so the whole thing I planted east and west, and then when I was done, I went back to that area. I reset my coverage map, and I just planted that area again. I went north and south and crisscross planted. And that area I planted at 20,000 twice, so I get 40,000 total, which is really thick for corn. I mean, generally corn up here we plant at like 32, 34,000. And then the rest of the maize I planted at 32,000. So I was like, I almost wrote a script to put a prescription map behind the planter map as well because I was just toggling it manually to like, okay, I'm in the small maze. I hit a button to go 20,000, and then when I go back to the big maze, I hit the button to go back to 30,000. I didn't, and there's only one spot I messed up, but because I thought too, like, I might overload this poor computer on this planter and make it really angry. So like, we're just not going to push our luck on that. So
Let's see if we could do that. So in other words, okay, the way I'm just gonna try to back up here, and Matt, help me if I'm not, because I was sort of participating in helping set this up a little bit. Kelly Sharp, just so everybody knows, is actually the one who made the magic work happen here in the background, along with Maddie at John Deere. But okay, so the 15-acre small maze is very detailed.
mhm,
There's lots, and there's actually holes in here, and there's curves. And so what Matt did is he came up with this maze as a picture. We brought this picture in and we geo-referenced it across the field, but then we had to make the resolution on that picture work so that we could get the detail into the picture and the lines being very finite.
yeah,
Otherwise, it ends up looking pixelated and you wouldn't actually be able to make out what the images are in the field. And so we worked with the resolutions on in ADMS software to georeference this whole thing. Then in the process, this got actually turned into a boundary file. Is that correct?
yep, correct. So we turned so ADMS was able to take that image after we geo-referenced it. We had to keep the quality really, really high. So we actually had to like go into ADMS's code, basically override some default things because ADMS typically, well, let's get down to 1 meter resolution. That's typically more than adequate for what people need and things. But for this maze image, we had to go down to a 1/4 meter just to get the thing to like look as good as we can be. The other thing with that though, with that 1/4 meter, we had a bazillion points of data, which John Deere nor ADMS likes that necessarily. So then we had to like make it really detailed, turn it into a boundary file, and then we had to go back and like remove the points because I mean a lot of like there's detail, but some of the lines can be simple snap lines, basically 2 3 points. So we kind of had to play with that for a while as well. And yeah, so we turned it into a boundary file, and then but the issue with the corn maze is it's basically they're circles without really endpoints is the issue. And ADMS is fine with it. However, John Deere does not like that. And so it would start making random endpoints and it had to throw things off. So Maddie at John Deere then took the shapefile and she had to basically splice all the shapes randomly just to make them like actually have endpoints. So that way they would, or not splice, be cut basically. but cut them so then that way they actually had true endpoints, and then the monitor could actually read it and not realize like their way that their theory of operation is then it works with their theory of operation, like how the program is written to handle those shape files. So that's kind of what we had to do. My concern a little bit was like those lines because you'd see them on the screen and whatnot, and even the map that I loaded into the planter. I was worried like again like and ADMS does this now too really well. But like when you cut a line, like are you actually getting that line on top of each other? So like there's not a little gap there that the planter then's going to drop a seed. And she did a great job on actually like doing what ADMS does and splicing it, and like the line is right there. There's no way for that planter to actually think like, oh, for a split second I have to turn on and turn back off. The other thing too, the equipment we used, we have a John Deere ExactMerge planter, so that gives us also the seed on off rate. Like we don't have to worry about seed drop. That seed is inches from the ground, So when that planter called for the seed to turn on, boom, it started planting right away. When the planter said stop, it stopped right away. So, and that was probably my biggest concern is that start stop time frame. Like, are we gonna have any zigzags with the boundaries? And we had like very, very little bit. Like, I mean, nothing, something that like I would notice, Sarah, Jody, we probably see as like, like we know what we can see, like those imperfections, but for Corn Maze attendee and the aerial shots, you're never going to notice it. So,
But even from the aerial map that I'm looking at now, did you go in already and, like, clean up some of those imperfections that you haven't cleaned this up at all?
no, we didn't have to clean it up at all. Like it planted amazing, like super crisp. It was just, I mean, it was awesome.
Because I mean, it is impressive how the shapes and the lines and the circles, it is right on. And so you must have that start and stop. And again, that what you're basically saying is that the delay between when the seed drops and when it lands in the actual furrow is very small.
Yeah, I think like John Deere has it set up to like 50 hundredths of a second or 0.15 of a second. So I mean, it's very, very minute. So on a normal planter with an actual seed tube, you probably have a little more of a delay there. But again, nothing that can't be like programmed that it knows like, hey, there's just this much time, and it has to time that accordingly.
That was gonna be my next question. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was gonna say, did you have to adjust your look ahead time at all? But it sounds like with the way that your planter is set up, the seed is so stored closer to the ground, so you don't have that seed tube and that drop time you've got to account for.
Yep,
Am I
exactly.
thinking about that right?
Yep. And like the look ahead time more so deals with like prescription maps. Um,
Mm.
and that was one thing Deere asked me, like, hey, maybe next year try this with a prescription map. But the issue with the prescription map in John Deere's world is it's not that one you can get more zigzag because it's not like we need actual perfect lines. Like so a boundary file gives us that perfect line versus a prescription is going to be a little more pixelated, a little more like not quite as crisp. So
That's a really, really important just distinction because in my head the whole time I was thinking about this as a seed prescription, right? Where you export something out in grids and have those like columnar data. But again, like as you've mentioned, and now I'm finally getting the picture of it. You sent a boundary file
yep,
to JD Ops and used that to plant, and like your row shut off. You're
correct.
out of boundary.
Yep.
When your planter's out of bounds, is that's what's controlling the on
Yep,
off.
exactly. So yeah,
Okay.
there's basically a ton of interior unpassable or they're interior passable boundaries, and then the planter knew like not to plant in those spots basically. So that's a boundary file to give us that crisp, really accurate look like we're seeing right now.
That was one of the things when I've been visiting with Kelly about this. And, you're not the first person that I've tried to help with a corn maze. It's just this is you definitely got most of my hours out of me.
Last year, this year, I don't think we didn't tap you at all. So
Oh, and well, I think I waved the white flag and was like, "Kelly, make it happen." And I mean, this is the stuff that Kelly is just so smart with. But did you know, or was it Kelly that came up with the idea about using it as a boundary?
no, that was kind of my plan from the beginning. Is I knew it had to be a boundary, not a prescription file. Because if it was a prescription file, that'd have been super easy. You and I could have done that in a heartbeat. But I think Kelly agreed. Like it has to be a boundary file, otherwise, a prescription just won't give us that. I mean, I think the big maze you could probably do prescription because it's a lot more area there, bigger things. but the small maize, you could never do that with that kind of detail, and I still think you get some like zigzags with the big maize, even as well as a prescription file. So for us, it had to be a boundary file. And like, I know there's mazes across America that they plant with 2020 planters. Like those ones, it was the biggest hurdle for us was trying to get the John Deere Operations Center because I couldn't even like put the map through. Like it has to go through Operations Center to get into the planter nowadays. Like you can't just load
Mhm.
up a thumb drive, stick it in the planter. You can, but then it's still like it communicates to Op Center. It's gonna like basically kind of overwrite itself to be like, hey, this isn't right. Here's what it's supposed to be. So anyway, so we had to like to make sure it worked, had to put it into Operations Center, and then from there it pulled up in the planter. And it worked, like I said, it worked out really well. I was super, super nervous. Like we didn't even want to announce this thing until like I could see it. I mean, I was out there, making sure like, okay, does it actually work? And like at one point, I think my kids or my dad were like, there's a lot of rows that just go to nowhere. I'm like, are you sure? Like, yeah, I think they're just like they're dead ends. I'm like, oh man, it's like I went out there, I'm like, Dad, no, it's right here. It's like, well, it's just so tight. Like I just didn't think there's a pathway there. I'm like, there is. There's, so like once I got the confidence, and there's a very small window of getting that ideal picture. And even the picture I took that we're using for kind of our like promotions and everything is probably like a week later than I'd like it to be. But the week prior, we had the wonderful Canadian smoke, so just so blue and hazy. Even the picture we have is still kind of hazy, but I kind of touched it up to try to emphasize it. But yeah, eventually now it gets too big where like there's still detail there, but the plants are just so big now it just doesn't have that quite crisp look to it as it did, you know, typically around that 4th of July time frame. So it's about a month old. It's big enough you can get a good nice aerial shot with a drone, but it's not too big where you start getting too leafy on it either. So
It was, uh, it was really fun when I think you texted an aerial photo and sent it to Kelly and I when it was, like, kinda coming up.
yep.
First, when I saw that, when it came in a text message. So, the picture looked really small on my phone and everything, and I'm like I clicked on it, and I looked at it, and I zoomed, and I was like, "I don't know, did this work?" I was a little bit nervous.
No.
Then I zoomed, and I'm like, "Holy buckets! This is so cool."
Yep. Yes. I kept I think flying like every week to like, okay, I gotta get this aerial shot. And then my wife and I, we take our kids to Indiana. That's where my mom's from. And so we go there for vacation every summer for about a week to 10 days. And I knew I'm like, oh, my ideal times would be when we're gone. So I like showed one of my guys like, hey, here's how you fly it, everything else. But then we also had a bunch of rain dumped on that time. So then like you kind of had to time it where like the maze didn't look like it was saturated. And so like I said like, all right, when I get home, we'll deal with it. I came home and then we had smoke so crazy. And then, a few days later, it finally was like, okay, I finally get the shot. But even like the smoke, I'm like, all right, it looks amazing, and that's why I
It
sent
does.
those pictures off. So
It turned out it turned out so cool.
What part of Indiana is your mom from?
Northeast Indiana,
Like, Fort Wayne, north of Fort Wayne?
north of Fort Wayne. Yes. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Why?
Awesome. I went to Purdue, so
Oh, okay. Yep.
yeah.
Well, my mom's side of the family, they all are heavy Purdue people. So yes. So
Boiler up.
The Grange, Indiana, Howe, Indiana, our Sturgis, Michigan. That's where they're from. So
Okay, yeah, close to the border.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So like the joke was my mom went from border town to another border town, like with my dad, because like there's nuances sometimes when you're on the border, like and being how Indiana's smaller and like Sturgis would be a bigger town. Some of the stuff would be like you go more into Michigan than you go into Indiana side of things. But like Fort Wayne would be like the bigger city. It'd be like us. Well, Grand Forks was a bad example, but like it's like Fargo size basically. So
I'm laughing because the first corn maze I was ever at was in Indiana. I'd never been to a corn maze before. But that has me thinking about where did you guys start doing this? Like you said you started doing this 10 years ago?
10 years ago, yep.
Why?
So the idea came from, and Sarah will know the same too, Paul Backstrom.
Oh, really?
Really?
Paul Backstrom is a user of ADMS for many, 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 many
Yep.
years.
So they have this thing called Maddock Field Day or Maddock Days, right? And so they have corn maze. So I actually worked for Paul right out of college. And so I was part of like their corn maze thing. I thought, this is kind of cool. Doesn't take that much. I mean, and they were mowing their maze out. And so I kind of thought like this would be kind of cool to do. So I, I brought up the idea, and for us, it was again trying to like provide agri-tainment in the area. I mean, I think people think like Grand Forks, like there's a lot to do, and there is a decent amount to do, but like it's just I don't know, there's just not as much to do as I think there could be. And so I came with the idea like, hey, let's do this corn maze. I mean, and you look back at the first year's images and pictures and stuff, like our admission bin was out of a trailer. Like I mean, we did stuff so hokey pokey. Like our little corn box was like plywood up and like all this stuff. And I'm like, and people paid to come to this thing back then. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I'm so sorry in a way. Like, but that's what's Grand Valley Corn is. So, and we were gonna start it a year earlier. However, my wife and I became pregnant with our first one, and he was due in September, and it was like, nope, that's not happening. So we delayed it a year. And like the area where we have like the activity area and stuff, had our corn maze tended to be a little like not the highest producing area of the field, and so we just kind of like it went. We didn't have a huge loss in that way. I think we started out like with an 8 acre maze the first year. First year or two was 8 acres. Then we moved it to 10 acres, and then we moved it to 15. And we've been at 15 for the last several years for that smaller maze. We keep talking about going a little bigger, and we might. Well, obviously we did this year. um, but for who knows what next year's plans are. I know someone said like, let's just do it again next year, another world's largest corn maze, and just do the whole quarter. So we very well might. Because like part of it too, like so my hope was to be like in the Guinness Book of World Records, because like the current record is 66 acres in the Guinness Book. There's a farm down in like Stony Brook, Minnesota, Stony Meadow, somewhere down southern Minnesota. They did 110 acre maze, so that's why I did 121. Because I thought like, well, if they're going through the process, because you can backdate a Guinness World Record as well, apparently, with enough proof and everything. However, when I inquired about it, Guinness told me, yeah, that's great. This you have to pay for a package. The starting is $20,000 for you to
Holy
get this. Like, and I'm like, nope. I mean, it's cool to be like that way, but I'm not spending $20,000 for an organization that's going to do. I was just that like ruined the Guinness Book of World Records for me. I'm like, is that what all this is? Is like that whole book is just full of people that are just front
Apparently.
row money to like get world records? I'll definitely say like I'm any interviews I can, I definitely point that out. And people are like, that's insane. And I'm like, exactly. It is insane. So I'm hoping they somewhere hear this and go like, I don't know, either it's sure not gonna change for a mere little small corn maze, but it's like it is just ridiculous what
Hey,
the deal is.
the beautiful thing though, right? It's like you have the boundary files, right? Like this is georeference. It's satellite image, like the data's
I map,
there.
we've got everything, so we can prove it if we want to. So
Thinking back to like 10 years ago, how were you getting your lines? Like, were you also doing prescriptions then? Like, or were you cutting things out? How
yeah.
were you
So
putting the
then we
lines
we
in?
actually did what kind of like Paul Backstrom did is we put a GPS on our lawnmower and used one of those mobile PC units and well, we still had a georeference the image. And at that time, I used a different system. It was super nice. Some company bought it, but it was like oldmaps.org or something. I don't know. Anyway, some website that I could georeference an image, super easy. Download it as a TIFF file, open it up in ADMS, and it just works. So then you just basically just follow the line to turn on continuous quick marks, and you just basically fill out the deals. And so,
So you were doing this like in the old soil sampling, like
oh, AF10s or AF2s, wherever they are. Yep. Up until literally up until last year, we kept mowing it. Like we
Really?
kept doing it that way. So
And were you just following like a light bar or did you have like auto steer?
no,
How are you?
no. So the Jody, these like Sarah will be able to describe it to you, but it's the old like thing computers.
this thing for soil sampling.
Yeah, but they're
So
like
you're following the line. Like you have to like be on the line then,
yeah.
right?
You got to be on the line, like, and you kind of like I mean you kind of like became one with the screen, and we put it on zero turn, and you'd see your dot, but like you also like it was sunny, and so like it'd kind of be glary, and so you kind of be like, I hope this works. And every once in a while, I mean, we know how those computers glitch. Every once in a while, those computers will like lock up. You'd be like, my icon hasn't moved. Oh my gosh. Like, so you quick stop and you're like, am I still active or did the thing lock up? But yeah, you just kind of be with the machine and know like how to turn to make the line, like you kind of know where to line up. And so yeah, it was quite the deal. And again, it's crisscross. You could kind of see the rows and you typically would mow it around knee high to mid shin. But if you go too early, the corn regrows. If you go too late, you just push over the stalk. So there's a fine line. And there has been times, a couple of years, like it rained, and so the corn was knee high, and it kept raining, raining, raining. The stuff was also like past your head, and we're out there trying to mow it down. And that was miserable.
I bet that was awful.
It was. So for a while I mowed them, and then I taught my sister how to do it. because I just couldn't, with farming and everything else, I couldn't always guarantee it happen. But it would be like that 15 acres would take you a good day and a half.
Oh, I bet.
And it was not like you would load up on mosquito spray. I mean, I would just put earphones in and you just kind of become one with the machine. Um, story. So one year, I don't know which year this was, but one year I was mowing out there and it was getting dark and I just was like, I was just kind of just tired. I was done. It was taller too. Like it was miserable. I think the corn was like mid chest. So it was too tall, but again, you have to get done. And I just, you don't back out of the maze, you just shut it off and just leave it there and then you walk out. So I was walking out and all of a sudden as I'm walking out of the maze area, walking towards my vehicle, this vehicle on the highway just goes vroom and goes crashed in a ditch. It was some high schooler kid who I don't know what was wrong, but if you like, I wish I could show like an aerial shot, but like where the maze is at's on the corner of Highway 2, and there's like another road and another road. Like there's 3 roads that kind of corner here. And I don't know what the kid did, but he just missed it or whatever. And he forgot to take the curve to go towards Highway 2 and just went straight. And there's like this like giant, like kind of pile of dirt as kind of a, I think for a purpose to stop someone. He just went full airborne and in the ditch there is super deep, full of cattails, and like I mean, you would have not seen like it's that deep. You would have never seen him down there, and so like the chance of me like walking out and seeing this, and like oh my gosh, so I quick call 911. The kid was fine. I think he was just entirely intoxicated because he like pulled himself out of the vehicle and then plopped down. I'm just like, dude, just stay down there. I couldn't even get down to it because it was just so steep. But he was fine, and anyway, that was a crazy story of like a one evening at the Corn
So
Maize.
you, like, just walked out at, like, just the right time.
Like literally just walked out just the right time. I think I had my headphones in, and like also I like on the corner of my eye, I also see this vehicle like just go airborne, and also I'm like, what am I just seeing? All of a sudden, boom, and went in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, So like and then like if I think it must have been like year 2 or 3 because it was early on because I called 911 and I said they're like, well, what's your address? I'm like, it's by Valley Corn Maze. It's at this intersection. And the policeman like went flying by and I'm like on the phone just I was like, have him turn around. It's right here. And oh, so aggravating. But now people know where Valley Corn Maze is generally. So
It's funny.
sorry, we totally went way out on tangent there.
It's a podcast. We do stories.
Oh man.
Oh, I love it. That's funny. Dispatch is like, you just walked out of where?
Yeah.
And you saw what?
Oh man. Sorry.
You're on the phone with dispatch. You're never gonna believe this, but this is true.
Yeah. No. Oh.
Oh my
goodness.
gosh.
Anyway.
So this is gonna be opening up really soon here. It's gonna be available for everybody to participate in and come on out. Obviously, going through the maze is gonna be good. This thing is huge.
Yep.
How do you keep from, like, losing people in this?
So we have a guy that develops it's not code an app, but like you scan a QR code, it'll pull up a web page, and it pulls up the maze design, and then you turn your location on, and you can see where you're at in relation to the corn maze. So we have a way for you to like at least know where you're at through the maze. We do have paper copies as well if someone wants to do that, because we do have a game in the small maze for people to um, go do. It's called Mazeopoly, so it's like a little fun Monopoly type game, but it's for mazes. And so there's that. And also in the small maze, we have 2 little bridges out there too that people can kind of climb up, and you can kind of see a little bit over the corn. So different things like that. But yeah, so we've got that QR code with the app that you can kind of generally see where you're at. It doesn't give you like, here's the way to go, but at least will help you kind of figure out like, okay, I'm here, and make you kind of go through that way. On the large maze, we're having everyone because I mean like 7 miles of walking. I think people are like, oh, that's fine. Like this is 7 miles of in the field walking, and if you've been in a cornfield, the wind goes away. It's very hot and humid. Like it can be a windy day, and it's actually pleasant out in corn generally. So we have people. They have to have their phone at least 50% battery. They'll have a lanyard that will have this QR code that will be like you can scan this to make sure you can like get your way out basically. We have our phone number on there. I like question that because I feel like people will be these number like I lost, and it's like, well, too bad. I mean, the big thing is they say it's unmanned. It's not like you can't like there's no one out there to help you get out, basically, So hopefully, at least with that app and everything, and people will have someone there making sure like it works for people. We're not gonna be like, here, you do it on your own. Like they have to show us, like, yep, okay, I can see the blue dot, I can see the map. Okay, you're fine. Go out in the maze, basically. So that's how you kind of navigate both.
And sign the waiver. Good luck.
Yeah, yep. Well, actually, no, that's a whole different thing. We have to have everyone sign waivers this year, not just because of the large maze. Just that's a whole nother thing. We were gonna have a waiver for the big maze, but now they made us have a waiver that everyone has to sign when they walk in. So we have another QR code. You scan it, you sign the waiver, you go in.
So can you how many people have gone through your mazes in the past?
We've had like typically 6 to 7 thousand people a year. So how
Excuse me, how many?
6 to 7 thousand people.
Wow.
So I really would like to see it be closer to 10,000 this year. That's kind of my own like internal goal. So whether it
That
happens or not, that's it doesn't really matter. So and again, like the reason going back to like why we started the corn maze, it truly was to like educate people about ag. Like
Mhm.
even though Grand Forks, North Dakota is surrounded by agriculture, you still find people that have no idea. People think the corn that they're walking through is, can I eat this corn? I'm like, you can, but it's not sweet corn. It's a starchy. It's field corn. Years ago, I think year 1, 2, or 3, one of the first early years, I tell the story often. Lady was like, something about, oh, this must not be genetically modified corn. I said, no, it actually is. She's like, well, it doesn't look any different. I said, no, it looks exactly like this is what corn looks like. Why does GMO corn look like all different? And I said, no, it does not. This is genetically modified corn. So just different things like that. We try to heavily have signs up that have different fun facts about ag, and we don't just talk about corn. We talk about soybeans. We talk about wheat. We have even display out that even has sugar beet seed, from like the actual sugar beet seed that we plant to the ones that get coated, and talks about like all the different things about like how sugar, like what's the process of a sugar beet into sugar. Same with corn. So we really try to tie, like our mission statement is about educating people about agriculture. That's one of our core things we have that we want to try to do with this whole thing.
That is so awesome. Even here in North Dakota, northern Minnesota, where people are surrounded by agriculture, but it just feels like so many people don't get the chance to ask those questions or learn. And so what a fun way to do some outreach and have like a fun game and things to go along with it.
Yep, absolutely. And a lot of this is also done. Like, I mean, people pay an admission to attend and everything like that too. And I'm just taking this moment to like give a shout out to Pioneer. It's been a premier partner for us the last couple of years. I mean, their logo is featured in this maze. They contribute financially. They get some marketing PR with it too. But like, it's not a like people look at this as like, oh, it's a quick easy grab kind of a thing. It takes a
Right.
ton of work. Like a ton of work, a ton of time, a ton of money to like put up structures, to put up things to do. Like right now, the guys, another thing, like we try to add something new every year, and this year we're adding like, I think 2 or 3 things new. We're adding swings, just normal fun swings. And originally when we talked, it was gonna be like 5 or 6 swings. No, my dad has made it's a 70-foot wide swing apparatus he's made. And I was literally at the maze hoeing weeds because, like, again, like, just you have these open pathways with sunlight, so weeds like to grow in them. So I'm out there with my boys hoeing it, and I walked out and I looked over at the activity area. I'm like, "How big is that?" And my sister was there. She's like, "Oh yeah, it's 70 feet." And I'm like, "I thought we talked like a third of that." And she's like, "Well, Dad, go big or go home." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So we're gonna have this huge swing area now too.
Guinness may make a package deal. Like if you guys make the longest swing set in the world, you may be able to do like both validations at the same time for one price.
Yep. I don't know if that's I feel like we wouldn't have the biggest one, but you never know.
You never know.
You give your
Regardless,
dad a year.
it's huge. I know, exactly. Don't tempt him.
So you have other activities around the maze as well. What are some of the other activities that are there to do?
Yeah, so we have, oh man, so many things. I'm gonna miss all of them kind of thing. But we've got so we got swings now. We also put a giant, so we like put square bales of straw. We put them 4 levels of like a pyramid. So we call the giant straw pyramid slide. And then we got like just that beet tarp plastic, and it goes down, and people sit on potato sacks, and they just slide down that thing all day long. So, and my dad will make kind of different tunnels in there just for the kids to kind of climb through and around and whatnot. So we have, yeah, we have this giant pyramid slide. We've got corn boxes. We used to have one. It's a hit, but we figure big year, so we've got now 3 of them. Some of them are smaller. They're gonna be more for like toddler age, just because you get more of the elementary age in that thing, and it just gets a little crazy. So we got corn boxes. We got a little spider web rope course. We got rat rollers, which are like they're the giant um, tile culverts basically on PVC pipe, and you just run back and forth, between there. We've got a hoop and holler basketball game. It's got 4 basketballs that you can hit a button, you get 60 seconds, so you compete and see who can score the highest points. We've got giant yard games like tic tac toe, four, Jenga, big cornhole. We've got the giant. We've got giant bubbles. We've got tetherball. We have a little beeline zip line.
You have a zip out there?
Yeah, it's called a beeline zip line. So it's not officially a zip line, but it's a
Okay.
beeline zip line. You sit on it, and it's like, I don't know, 100 feet, 125 feet long, and you sit on this little disc, and you go down. So fun little ride.
That's fun.
Sunflower. We always try to have. We grow sunflowers on the farm, and we've had one good year of growing sunflowers at the corn maze. The last several years, I've just struggled with getting them to grow very well. So we try to have you pick flowers as well with different colors. So we have zinnia patches. Yeah, so we have quite a few things. Jody's like making faces of like, oh my goodness, they know all that stuff. But yeah, we have a lot of stuff there to like do. So we say like you can spend a good amount of time out at the maze area, in top of like you got the maze to go through, plus you got all the activities to do as well. So we charge it's $12.50 per person. That includes tax. Kids that are 36 inches and under are free, or you can buy a season pass for $28, and you can come all year as many times as you want. So I try to tell people like basically come 2 times. I feel like you get it's not quite paid for, but like there's so much to do. Like I feel like you have to come back at least more than once. And we do offer a thing called a bounce back pass too, where say you're like in town for a weekend type of a thing, and you don't want to do a season pass, but what we can do is actually do a bounce back, which means you pay the regular admission. Before you go, you buy a pass. It's called bounce back pass for half the price of the admission, so $625, and then you can use that any time throughout the season. So yeah, and then we've got different events throughout this year as well. So like opening weekend is coming up next weekend. Grandparents' Day, September 13th and 14th. Grandparents are free with every paid grandchild. September 20th and 21st, you got Temperature Weekend. Sure Earth Equipment brings out equipment. We bring out some from our own farm. Although I think an issue this year. In years past, there's been an issue of getting equipment because of that supply issue. But I think dealerships now have plenty of inventory. So
This is incredible. Like, I'm sorry. I just got done like putting my wedding together, and that was hard enough. I can't imagine like coordinating all of that. That's insane.
yeah,
And that's such an amazing thing to have. I'm biased because I live just west of Grand Forks, but what an amazing thing to have in the community.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to share this with other people and spread the word about it.
Do you have a dog?
No, I have a cat.
Oh, okay. So like October, we have canines on the corn. You can bring your dog out, kind of thing. Yeah. So I mean, like if you go to our website, valleycornmaze.com, you can see all the events throughout the whole year that we have going on. And like we give some flex too in terms of like if there's a weekend that gets rained out, or say one of the days does, we might extend it to the following weekend or whatnot too. Hometown Heroes is another huge weekend. That's about, I gotta figure out who's on the list now. All law enforcement, firefighters, EMS, doctors, nurses, and military personnel and veterans with service ID receive free admission. And then we also military discount the whole season as well. So we want to just say thank you to those that serve in the military and provide a little discount for them and their families that come and check out Valley Corn Maize.
That's awesome. Well, I know I'm planning on going up there. My son is now 7, and this is going to be like the perfect thing for us to go and do and check out. So excited. We saw your news report on a local TV station, WDAY, which was really fun when that was on. I was actually on the phone with my parents, and they happened to be, how that is when you call your parents and they're watching the 6 o'clock news just like you are.
Yep.
And I said, "Oh my gosh, I've worked on that maze."
It's finally happening. Hello.
It's happening.
Yeah. that Michael Scott thing with Dwight. That's what I think right away too. Like, and we do it in our group chat as well. We're always like little gifs like that of just like it's happening, you know. So
I'm so glad that precision ag could help a little bit and alleviate some of the work that
oh,
goes
it
into
has been yeah.
making
My
this thing
sister has been
happen.
like, we are planting the maize forever from now on. I said absolutely, and I in the process once we had Kelly kind of work on it with me like through the process, and I recorded him doing it because I'm like, we need to reference this again for how to do it. And once we did it, I was like, I could do this easily, you know, like, it's not that hard of a thing. I think the hardest thing is georeferencing it, trying to keep that image as, like, true as you can. That's hard to do because we have to use wonderful paint, which, you know, like, woohoo, you know, and, like, make it work out. But truly, once it was, like, all done and, like, and put together, it was like, "Man, this is great." I'm the one thing I wanna try to figure out, like, with Maddie and her team from John Deere is, like, "Okay, what'd you do?" Because, like, is there a way with an ADMS that we can make that possible? And I think it truly is possible to do it, we just have to figure that out,
Mhm.
you know? So, yeah.
We're able to do so many things with boundaries. We're just kinda trying to figure out, like, "Okay, John Deere, how do you want your boundary to look when it goes in there?"
Yep.
And if we could just figure that out, I know we can do it.
Yep. And we got the like, obviously, we got the boundary back from John Deere, like, "Okay, this worked." So we were able to then I sent that off to Kelly and I think Sarah too, just be like, "Here's what they needed." So that way then they kinda know, like, "Okay, this is what we gotta look at for next time," basically, you know? But I think the team at John Deere, they was fun because, like, again, shout out to Maddie because she was working on a Saturday for me to help get this thing working. And she's like, "Hey, I'm working on Saturday, don't worry." But she's like, "I got this thing." And then her supervisor, like, emailed me, I think a couple weeks later, like, "Hey, we have this, like, internal, like just recognition." And he said, like, "I want to put her up for it because, you know, she kind of went above and beyond to help you out." And I said, absolutely, she deserves it. Anything I can, you know, help to contribute, let me know, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it was super cool. I got videos. I'm working on a video. It's not a I use the term mission critical. So like I have a video I'm working on that has me with a voiceover and like how I actually did it, like a lot more detail. One of these days when I'm not busy, I want to put it together, but it might not happen for a while. That's fine. Because I know like people are like, again, we farm, we're busy, but I also have 5 kids, and so when I go home, I try to go home. And by the time especially now, like, the kids are out, I mean, it's been cool to see as, like, part of the corn maze as well, like, they're able to help out. So, I mean, I've got all 3 of my boys, they're 11, 9, and 7. They're out helping hoe weeds, they're doing different things. I mean, they'll probably maybe not enjoy it as much, but, you know, growing up with it, I hope they do though, in all honesty. But, like, for them, it'll be like, "Oh, the corn maze, you know, whatever." But, I know one actually said, like, "When can I start working at the corn maze?" Because like, we pay our kids, like, the kids on the farm, if they're doing a job that I'd have to have one of my employees do, like, I will pay them. I'm not gonna pay them what I pay the employees because 'cause they're not doing it quite that level, but they still earn money. And same thing at the corn maze, like, they're out hoeing weeds, they're doing a good job, like, "Hey, you can get on the clock and get paid." And, like, for them to see that, to learn, like, "Hey, working hard, not everything in life is, like, equates back to money, but at least you can learn that good work ethic."
Absolutely. And I think for a lot of farm kids that are out there, that's like, what an opportunity. And let's just call a spade a spade. Not all kids have that opportunity. And
Mhm.
it's, but I realize I just said not all kids get the chance to go and pull weeds in 20 miles of pathway, but seriously, like, it does teach good work ethic
Okay.
and it is an opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's really cool, and it's really neat that it can be a whole family affair. It's really neat that you've got your dad building different events and things like that, and, you know, that your sister has been helping out and,
Well, my mom is too. Like, I mean, it's a full like, I feel like sometimes I do not contribute enough, whereas, like, the other parts of my family members are doing a lot of things. But, I mean, it's a total team effort, you know? I'm stuck in the office doing stuff that I gotta deal with, and then they're out there doing things as well. So, I mean, it's a whole family effort. Fun fact actually is the women actually own the business, so the husbands do not.
That's cool.
So it is so we kinda put that little plug, like, it's actually a women-owned business at that point. So, you know.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us about this.
Yeah.
I learned a ton about just like simple corn maze agronomics, but also like the precision agronomics of it too.
Yep.
And about the whole maze in general. So thank you again so much for your time. Folks, please go check out Valley Corn Maize.
Yep.
Google it, look it up, be there this fall and take it in and take a look at this, really the world's largest corn maze.
World's largest corn maze. So, like I said, next year maybe be back down to 15 acres. So if you want the opportunity, come out this fall, world's largest corn maze. We'd love to see you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. And remember, with GK Technology, we have a map
And an app.
for that.
Let the geeks at GK Technology help you with your agricultural data. Their agronomists know agriculture. When it comes to creating soils and zone maps to maximize yields in your fields, you can trust the people with decades of experience in site-specific agriculture. Everyone at GK Technology has a background in agriculture, so they know what makes a farm run, and they speak your language. The geeks at GK Technology have a map and an app for that.